Welcome to episode 18 of Forest Focus. I'm your host, Paul Wade, with the Regional Public Affairs and Communications Office. The focus of this episode is recycling. It's all around us. It has been made easy and convenient. But what happens when a large wildfire requires the creation of a fire camp or incident command post, where hundreds or even thousands of personnel support the firefighting effort? The amount of trash that accumulates could match that of a small town. Lessening this environmental impact was the focus of the National Greening Fire Team, who in June 2020 received an Innovation Award from the Environmental Protection Agency's Federal Green Challenge Program for their work to integrate sustainable operations best management practices into incident operations. So joining me on the show will be the team, ambassadors, and recycling vendors to tell us more about the efforts behind this award and what we can expect moving forward. With that, I'd like to welcome Greening Team Co-Chair Laura Bullich to the conversation. Laura, before we dive into the details of your team, I'd like to learn a little bit about you and what drove you to step into this leadership role on the team.
Thanks, Paul. I've had the honor of co-chairing the Greening Fire team for the past 2 years, but I've enjoyed watching it evolve over the past decade. I was initially driven to step into this leadership role as it seemed like an obvious fit with my Regional Sustainable Operations Coordinator role. After all, Region 5 is no stranger to wildland fire. There are seemingly endless opportunities to reduce the environmental impact of fire operations, and it's really inspiring to lead this dedicated group. The Greening Fire team members are wonderful and skilled collaborators.
Thank you for that, Laura. I actually did not know that the team had been in existence for 10 plus years. So it's great to learn of this firm foundation in the agency. With that, I'd like to hand the mic basically back to you. And you did mention that you're a Sustainable Operations and Climate Change Coordinator. And I seem to be running into people that have very, very long titles. And again, you're with the Pacific Southwest region of the Forest Service. And take it away, Laura.
Thanks so much, Paul. And really, again, appreciate the opportunity to join today and discuss the work of the team. Sustainability is truly inherent to the USDA Forest Service mission to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of the nation's forests and grasslands to meet the needs of present and future generations. As the scope of wildland fire response efforts presents an opportunity to manifest our mission through efficient federal operations. The Greening Fire team, which is a partnership with Washington Office Fire and Aviation Management, serves to coordinate efforts in support of this broader goal. And speaking of the Washington office, I'd like to welcome Dave Haston, Fire and Aviation Management Branch Chief for Equipment and Chemicals, to the conversation. Dave?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Sustainability is perhaps more rooted in the fire community's policy, guidance, and leadership intent than most people realize. For example, our Forest Service Deputy Chiefs issued a leadership letter of intent in 2019 that stated agency administrators should implement sustainability best management practices on all incidents. And importantly, the Red Book states that every incident should seek opportunities to reduce unnecessary waste. This may be accomplished by promoting recycling.
Thanks for highlighting those important references, Dave. I bet this was new information for many of our listeners. I'm now excited to loop in Kelly Jaramillo, Sustainable Operations Program Manager with the Forest Service Southwest region and Greening Fire Team Blanket Purchase Agreement lead. Kelly is well positioned to expand on Dave's Red Book reference and tell us more about incident recycling. So Kelly, let's start with some trash talk. How much trash is actually generated at fire camps?
Great question, Laura. I work in Region 3, which spans 11 national forests in Arizona and New Mexico. I estimate that our offices and administrative facilities in the region generated nearly 7 million pounds of trash in 2017. Over the same period, I estimate that over 6 million pounds of trash were generated at fire camps. This means that nearly half of the trash in our region came from incidents. From past waste audits, we observed that 40 to 70% of the waste from fire camps is actually recyclable or compostable. So clearly, tackling waste on incidents can go a long way toward reducing the environmental footprint of our agency.
Wow, that really puts things in perspective. With challenge comes opportunity, right? The Greening Fire Team's on-site incident recycling blanket purchase agreement, or BPA for short, grew out of the need to address this challenge in a cost-effective and streamlined way. Kelly, can you speak a bit more to some of the early drivers of this BPA?
Absolutely. Contracted incident recycling was first trialed back in 2017 and 2018, and a small number of fires across the Northern California and Northwest geographic areas. In 2017, Forest Service Region 6, which is in the Northwest and includes Washington and Oregon, contracted recycling for 41 days on just one incident. 48%, or nearly half of the waste at that incident, was diverted from the landfill because of this recycling. And even better, they generated $8,000 in recycle revenue that was reimbursed back to the incident. In 2018, incident recycling was further piloted in regions 5 and 6 over a span of 116 days, and they averaged a diversion rate of about 44%. This time, they generated $15,000 in recycle revenue. That goes a long way towards offsetting the cost of recycling in the first place. One of these pilots was on the Delta fire that burned near Lakehead, California, in the Shasta National Forest.
Wow, those are some really impressive stats. So, Kelly, one of the things I've often heard is individuals commenting that recycling is just too expensive. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Well, Laura, I hear that a lot, actually. And due to hidden or embedded costs, many don't realize that recycling by contract is close to and sometimes even less expensive than the cost of trying to recycle with our own resources, our own team. Even better, contracted recycling often reduces waste hauling costs. Effective recycling services have proven to reduce the need for dumpsters and servicing by 50 to 80%, further reducing the cost of the incident. For example, reducing daily service for 4 dumpsters on a single incident could save up to $22,400 a week. And at the end of the day, contracted recycling only has a minimal impact on daily operating costs. The average cost of contracted incident recycling on medium to large incidents is roughly $2.25 per person per day. Or, to put it in perspective, only 0.5% of the daily fire operating costs. As another point of comparison, at a fire camp with 1,000 personnel, the cost of portable toilets and hand wash stations is nearly 3 times the cost of contracted recycling.
Wow, so recycling really isn't too expensive after all, especially when we consider that we can cut the trash haul to local community landfills by at least 40%. I'm interested in hearing whether there are any operational benefits from incident recycling. And I can't imagine a better person to speak with and get that perspective from than our next guest, Denise Kusner, a Greening Fire Team ambassador, base camp manager, and facilities unit leader. Denise, I know you've had an opportunity to observe contracted recycling in Arizona, New Mexico, and California. How have you seen the BPA reduce the burden on logistics, facilities, supply, and camp crews?
I've seen this at every incident where contracted recycling was ordered. Because the recycling vendors arrive with all the needed trash receptacles, trash bags, personal protective equipment, and signage, the facility unit leader does not have to order or manage any of these items from supply. In turn, supply doesn't need to transport from the cache, store those items, or handle those items. Since the vendor services the trash receptacles and the recycling stations across the incident, the waste management burden is greatly reduced and or eliminated, for your camp crews, for your base camp manager, and facilities. The highly qualified vendors provide incident management teams assurance that waste diversion services at fire camps will improve waste management practices by reducing strain on agency personnel and supplies. Plus, the standardized recycling equipment, supplies, processes, and expectations means that all those rotating fire camp personnel have a similar recycling experience on each camp, which this increases engagement and credibility. It's a total win-win.
It's great to have that on the ground perspective, Denise. Thank you. Now that we understand more about the benefits of a BPA, I want to bring Kelly Jaramillo back into the conversation to discuss the current scope of the BPA and how it has been used. Kelly, what is available under the current BPA and what kind of results are we seeing?
Sure, Laura. Our blanket purchase agreement spans 4 geographic areas that include Arizona, New Mexico, California, Oregon, and Washington. And so far in the last 2 years, it's been ordered on 18 incidents. Our incident recycling vendors will collect and process what we're calling primary recyclables. And by this, we mean cardboard, paper, plastic number 1 and number 2, aluminum and tin, and even glass and wood pallets. Our incident management teams can also order optional items like cooking oil, tires, batteries, scrap metal, or even compost. So far, our waste diversion rates at the incident with the vendor averaged 46% in 2019, which means that almost half of the waste at the fire camp was diverted because it was recyclable. And this past year, diversion rate went down to 29%, but that's largely due to the increased trash volumes that we saw this past year due to the COVID mitigation that was going on at fire camps. We were serving a lot of single-use or to-go meals for our firefighters, and this greatly impacted our trash volumes. Based on vendor performance reports from June to September of this year, we expect the amount of recyclables that were collected to be about the same as what we did last year, with the exception of plastic bottles, which may again be collected in larger quantities due to the COVID-19 driven shift away from the bulk resource delivery.
Wow, those are really impressive results, even given the increased challenges posed by the pandemic. Given that the pandemic is front and center on everyone's minds these days, I'd like to shift the conversation a bit and bring in a couple of our recycling vendors to speak to adaptations and mitigation measures they have put in place as they continue to service fire camps this fire year. I'd now like to introduce our first blanket purchase agreement vendor who will be joining us today, Brian Birch from Zero Hero, based out of Fort Collins, Colorado. Brian's team was ordered back in August to the Red Salmon Complex fire in Northern California. Brian, it's great to have you with us today. Can you paint a picture of a day in the life of a recycling vendor for our listeners? And also comment a bit on how your work on incidents has grown out of work in the event space?
Thanks, Laura. It's nice to be here. Absolutely. Zero Hero was founded back in 2006, so we have considerable experience to draw from as we expanded our services into incident management with the Forest Service. Our time with the Red Salmon really reinforced our belief that there's a few keys to success in the private event industry, such as PGA tournaments and music festivals, that are really the same keys to success in incident recycling. For example, instead of just randomly placing trash cans around, you need strategy to place those sorting stations that have good signage. Every large dumpster really should be paired with a recycling dumpster. And also, as we have these successes, the stories should be shared with the local communities. And it's helpful to look for ways to tie them into the effort. It also broadens the recycling effort by engaging other vendors that are willing to help and the IMT, and this builds the support that leads to success. So really, to answer your question, the day in the life of a recycling vendor is getting out of bed every morning and pulling this all together.
Thanks, Brian. It's really interesting to learn the similarities and differences between your previous work and the service you now provide at fire camp. One thing that strikes me about your remarks, Brian, is the direct tie between your service and the community in which the incident is based. Our other BPA vendors, Human Eco, Meadowhawk, and No Waste, are also no strangers to this community connection. Next, I'd like to hear from Hannah Johnson of Human Eco and Jesse Franklin Owens of Meadowhawk to learn about some of the give back efforts related to incident recycling in host communities. Hannah?
Great. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, the benefits of a streamlined recycling service on these incidents really extend beyond the incident itself and well into the community in so many different ways. So on the Walker Fire in 2019, for example, we arranged for non-perishable foods to be donated to a variety of community members. We worked with the Indian Valley Academy in Taylorsville, California, the Plumas Charter School in Quincy, and the Portola Food Bank. And then more recently on the Slater Devil Fires, which are spanning Northern California and Southern Oregon, we had the opportunity to work with several community organizations there, ranging from youth ministries to family resource centers, all around the concept of donation. And one of our favorite experiences was actually working with the Karuk tribe in Happy Camp, California. We were able to donate non-perishable foods, blankets, toilet paper, Gatorade, all which came directly from the incident back into the community to support the folks that had lost their homes to the fire. So we really find that this work just has a beautiful element to it where we're discovering these sanctuaries of support within these communities that are just led by genuine, good-hearted people that might not have much themselves. So it really drives us as a group to keep researching, sharing our work, and seeking those connections within the community that is beyond just recycling. Another thing I want to mention is we've also donated to Host to Habitat, which is a nonprofit organization that makes play structures for zoo animals with spent hose. And this was great because, it does take a lot of coordination on our end to salvage these hoses from the line, package them up and get them out. But, we really feel like the opportunities are just endless here.
Hey, this is Jesse with Meadowhawk Recycling, and we've been able to do a similar thing, like Hannah was talking about, as far as being able to, do some work on incidents that we've worked on in Arizona and New Mexico. An example would be on the Griffin Fire that we were able to donate over 1,200 pounds of frozen steaks, hamburger meat, and chicken, along with 400 pounds of non-perishable food to a local food pantry. And this really helps when you get the cooperation of the food incident management people that are working with you. And this is a way where that on-site recycling can really lessen the burden on the local municipalities by reducing the volume of waste that's just going directly into the landfills. Meadowhawk has been recycling on wildfires for over 25 years. So for us, it's really exciting to see this transformation and kind of the direction that it's taken, that it's now expanded into this pilot project with obvious future goal of just, we should all be doing this everywhere in the country on all these incidents.
It's heartening to see triple bottom line sustainability, the social, environmental, and financial aspects in action through our blanket purchase agreement. Before we wrap up today's conversation, we wanted to invite John Shasky of No Waste to comment on how he sees incident recycling aligning with current recycle market trends. John, welcome.
Thanks, Laura. It's great to be here today. As we shift from sending recycling overseas to processing it domestically, our operations focus needs to shift as well. As we invest more in recycling education, standardized collection bins, and standardized bin labeling, we'll be able to minimize contamination rates, and our recycling streams will achieve their maximum resale value. The incident recycling BPA makes all of this possible, and No Waste is thrilled to support the transition.
Thank you, John. We too value No Waste and all other vendors' willingness to engage with the Greening Fire team as we learn together during this early stage blanket purchase agreement. Based on data-backed effectiveness plus positive feedback from incident management teams, the Greening Fire team plans to scale up the BPA nationwide after the pilot period ends in June 2022. This will increase consistency and accountability nationwide. Thanks to all our guests for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate all you do in support of the Greening Fire team's mission and vision, and look forward to diving deeper on a future episode.
A huge thank you to Laura for setting this up, and to Dave, Kelly, Denise, Brian, Hannah, Jesse, and John for giving us some insight into what happens to trash at fire camps. I think we can breathe a sigh of relief knowing these people are doing what they can to make the world a better place. For more information on the National Greening Fire Team, Zero Hero, Human Eco, Meadowhawk, and No Waste, please check out the links in the show's description. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. To learn more about this show, share it, or hear our other episodes, please search Forest Focus Podcast. Please subscribe, and if you have questions or suggestions on a topic of area of expertise you would like us to feature, please email us at sm.fs.r5ffpodcast@usda.gov. Until next time, enjoy your public lands, and remember to recreate responsibly. Know before you go, and learn what you can do to prevent wildfires. Take care. This podcast is sponsored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, and USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender.